Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper plans after breakup. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing dumper plans after breakup. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely wonder what your ex has been doing since the breakup. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing the 3 most likely plans that your dumper will have after your breakup. So let's get straight into this. And number 1 is friends, clubs, groups, and classes. So when 2 people are in a romantic relationship, they are both feeling a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. Now, for various potential reasons, unfortunately, this level of attraction has dropped in the person who then became the dumper. They ended your relationship, they actioned that decision, and they have made the thought process that they want to go on a different route, a different path, a different journey. Unfortunately, right now, they don't feel fulfilled in the relationship. They don't feel that this is working for them. And this is where point number 1 in today's podcast comes in, because when we consider dumper plans after breakup, one of the first things we need to think about and consider really is that the dumper is wanting to do things that they couldn't do within the relationship. Maybe that is why the relationship broke down. Or maybe it had nothing to do with this, but they still want to experience new things. Somebody who's come out of a relationship often wants to try and experience new things with new people. Or alternatively, they might want to spend more time with people that they couldn't previously. When you're in a relationship, it is very challenging to maintain friendships to the same level as when you were single. So when sometimes people end a relationship, what you might see is they instantly start spending more time with friends. Now, this could mean that they start going to clubs, groups, or classes, but those friends are already going to, or maybe they decide to try new things together. Whether this is a nightclub, whether this is a party, whether this is an exercise class, whatever the situation may be, when we consider point number 1, it is about the dumper experiencing a life that they didn't feel they could within the relationship. This may have been due to a lack of time. This may have been because their now former partner didn't want them to be going to clubs, groups, or classes, didn't want them to be spending time with friends. Whatever the situation is, what you often see with a dumper is that they're going to new clubs, groups, classes, spending times with friends. You know, you might hear things on social media, for instance, and think, gosh, my ex is doing all of these things that they didn't do with me. Now, whether or not they felt they couldn't do it with you, whether or not it's just because now they're spending time with friends who are now encouraging them to try new things, whatever has actually happened, you often do see instances by social media, friends to friends, where you hear about your ex, the dumper, doing different things, whether it's joining a dance class, whether it is joining something which is going to help them educationally or creatively. What you can see is a new path being trodden by your ex. Somebody is now living a life in a different way. And as a dumpee, this can feel quite concerning. You feel like, do I really know my ex? Why are they doing these things? They didn't seem interested in them before, possibly. Well, look, your relationship was real. Your romance was true. This doesn't detract from what you experienced with your ex. What this just shows is that they want to do new things. Now, the good thing as a dumpee, if you are worried about all of this and you think I've lost my ex forever, is that whatever was new eventually becomes old. Okay, I always like to say these examples because if you are a dumpee and if you are worried about your ex-dumper living a new life that you deem more exciting, just remember that exciting eventually becomes mundane. So although they're doing new things now, those new things won't seem new forever, and eventually they are likely to reflect on your breakup. And if you do everything right, there is every opportunity that you will one day hear from your ex again. If you want support on your journey of trying to get your ex back or moving forward and finding somebody even better, then please consider my audio coaching service where we can speak one-on-one about your unique problem, relationship breakup and aftermath. Details can be found on my website, www.dateme.tips. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about dumper plans after breakup. And point number 2 is travel. So linking into point number 1 where we were saying that somebody who ends a relationship often wants to do their own thing, go on their own journey, live their own life in a different way. Well, travelling is taking things to a possible extreme when we consider this, but it does happen. Somebody who feels that they were unable to do the travelling they wanted to, or maybe alternatively, they just feel that they want to get away, have a fresh start. Maybe they feel that travelling is the best option. It doesn't mean they have to move away permanently, but it gives them fresh experiences in totally different locations. As a dumpee, once again, this can seem concerning, but just remember that if somebody's travelling, they are likely to return. And once they return, everything they've come back to is going to feel very mundane and quiet compared to where they have likely travelled to. Therefore, once again, they will have opportunity to reflect. Now, they might be travelling for months or even years, and I would always say as a dumpee, you should never be waiting for your ex. Whether or not you want to get your ex back, moving forward is the key. You can't clock watch, you can't wait around. This will not help you. There is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back, and you can't be sitting around twiddling your thumbs just thinking, well, they'll come back from travelling eventually and then we will reconnect. You can't guarantee this, and we can't say for certain that they will even want to live in the location that you do right now. Sometimes it is true that people travel, get a real feel for a place, and want to stay out there permanently. However, this is in the minority of instances. Most people will come back to the area, and if you are a dumpee and your ex is travelling, there is every chance that one day in the future they may think back to the past, living in the area that you are now, and reach out. You can't wait for them to do this, but please don't feel fearful because it is very possible. Travelling is just a more extreme version really of point number 1 of going to the clubs, groups and classes. It's just somebody wanting to literally stretch their legs, see new things, experience new cultures, and you can't blame somebody for wanting to enhance their mindset. Whether or not they wanted to do this with you, whether or not you were supposed to be going and now they are going alone, this of course will be down to your unique situation. However, it is something that you do hear of dumpers doing, and if you are a dumpee, try to stay positive, try to stay relaxed, and if you see things on social media which seem really crazy and exciting and wonderful, just remember, similar to point number 1, but probably more so in point number 2 of travelling, you're likely to see more photos, videos, etc. People post what they want people to see. People post often the best things they're experiencing. And it isn't all happiness and laughter. People going travelling are often going to be working within a tight budget. They're often going to be extremely tired. It's not always the fun and games that you might be seeing online. So stay stable-minded and concentrate on your own journey, even if you are staying within your current location. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about dumper plans after breakup. And point number 3 is chill, relax, and family time. So almost the polar opposite of point number 2 is a dumper who thinks that relationship was intense. I just want to chill. I don't want to jump into anything new right now. I don't want to experience anything crazy. I just want to relax. And often dumpers who feel this way will be spending extended time with their family. Maybe they didn't feel they could spend that time within the relationship. They miss their family. This is when family time, relaxation, just chilling out really is what you will find in this instance. Often dumpees worry that their exes will always be doing things which seem a lot more eventful and fruitful, you might say, than when they were together. However, you often see dumpers doing this chillaxing, this relaxing, this family time with their friends and family to some degree, where it's not over and above board, where it is just something which is more calm, and they're not necessarily wanting to try new things or joining classes, groups or clubs or doing anything like that. but just spending extended times at home, maybe seeing one or two friends, but nothing particularly eventful. So if you're a dumpee and you don't hear about your ex doing things on social media or through friends of friends, don't think they've just gone off radar because they don't want you to know. It's quite possible that they aren't doing anything exciting at all. And maybe your life as a dumpee, if you're going through and using the advice and strategies that I suggest, where you live your life to the full, maybe you are doing more exciting things than your ex-dumper is. And maybe if your ex-dumper finds out about what you're doing via social media or friends of friends, maybe this is when they will want to reach out to you. Always remember to focus on your life, your journey, and not your ex's. Because whether you hear about what they're doing or not, it's not necessarily going to be something which is as fearful to you as you might be thinking. You know, sometimes dumpees will be worried if their ex is doing too much. Sometimes they're worried if they're doing too little. You know, I've spoke to dumpees who are worried, thinking, well, their ex doesn't seem to be doing anything at all. And they're thinking, well, if they're not doing anything at all, why aren't they reaching out to me? In this instance, it shows that the dumper is wanting time out from relationships. They want to process what has happened. Maybe it was very intense. Maybe there were some bad instances within the relationship, which really takes the dumper some time to process. You must give your ex space. So it doesn't matter if they're trying to live their life to the full, potentially blocking things out, or whether they are just taking their time, staying calm and speaking to their family. This doesn't affect you. You know, you can only control the controllables, and if and when your ex contacts you, that is when you can take action. Before then, you need to be taking action on yourself, living your life to the full, doing the hints, tips and advice I give in other podcasts and the strategies that I give on my audio coaching course. And if you live your life in this way, you will increase the chance of your ex thinking about you, reaching out to you. And if and when they do, this is when you can really move through the communication stage with a lot more positivity rather than fear. At the end of the day, if somebody receives a text from their ex, you haven't got them back yet. You must navigate the communication stage effectively, arrange a meet, and take it from there. Whatever your ex is doing after the breakup, it doesn't ultimately affect your chances of one day reconnecting. It can't be guaranteed. It doesn't happen for everybody. But if you do everything right, if you live your life in a positive, fruitful, exciting way to you, making sure you're living your life and nobody else's, then you stand the best chance of becoming an attractive proposition for not only your ex, but for other people as well. Remember, with or without your ex, you will have a positive future. And if you don't get your ex back, you can find somebody even better if you become a version 2.0 of yourself. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.